AI is going to move faster than
Yep,
that.
100% agree.
It's just moving at a breakneck speed. And I believe it's the businesses at the beginning of that are just going to explode.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jayson Manship, host of Authentic and Agentic, presented by TechPoint. Every week on this show, we break down what's happening in AI and what it means for how we work, lead, and live. Join me for a human-focused conversation that keeps you ahead of the curve. This is the Authentic and Agentic podcast on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Hi, friends. Jayson Manship here from the Authentic and Agentic podcast here on the IBJ Network. I am excited to come to you today. Sorry I'm a day late. I made a boo-boo, and I recorded the intros and the outros for this show yesterday so that I could get it out on Tuesday, which is our normal date, and I did not record my audio. And so hard to play back podcasts with no audio. So that's totally on me. So I see it bouncing up and down now on my screen as I'm watching, so I'm sure I'm doing it correctly this time, but sincere apologies. Let's get right to it, though. This week, I have a really cool interview for you with a guy named John Hurley. John is a serial entrepreneur. Crazy cool story on how he got his kind of startup roots in that space, working with some really big companies that are known entities here in the market, but weren't at the time. I mean, he took a chance and did some work with some people who were trying to figure it out, and it turned out great for him. What I love about the conversation with John, though, is we talk about the ups and the downs. He talks about what went well and what didn't. And he has a new product out that is really AI. It's built for AI, frankly. And I was excited to unpack that with him as well. So you're going to love my conversation with John. He is just awesome dude doing really cool things and has a cool story to tell. So I think you're going to enjoy that. Before we get to the interview, like we do every week, we're going to talk about the news. And so this week, I have a couple things for you that I find super interesting. First, I want to talk about models a little bit. Interestingly, I learned about this at lunch today, so you guys are going to get an extra tidbit that I didn't have in my original recording. But one of the things I think about, I get asked a lot about, is which model do you use? Which tool do you use? What does that look like? Generally, I'm relatively agnostic. It's all moving so fast and it changes every day. I learned about a website called arena.ai through my friend Andy Mork at Mork Productions, video production buddy of mine. Had lunch with him today, and he told me about arena.ai, and it is a ranking system, basically, of all of the models. So if you want to know who has the best image creating tool, or who has the best, text to video feature, or who has the best code capabilities, you can click around and find out which of these models performs the highest. And it is a kind of, they call it the arena, right, where they're battling against each other to see which model is winning present day. Super cool, super interesting. It's kind of fun to see. I don't go so far down the weeds here they're all better than anything we've ever had before in human history. So find the tool you like, right, and go from there. But the reason I bring this arena piece up is because there was a story out on Tuesday from Anthropic. They've rolled out a new model called Claude Sonnet 5. What makes this different is that it's really targeting the mid-tier folks. So instead of chasing to be the most powerful, they are attempting to be the best bang for the buck. And so they are trying to enhance kind of the freemium model, the lower level tiers, so that you get more power for less cost instead of just being the most powerful, which I think is a really interesting play because it's making it better for the everyday average users like you and I, which is frankly why I've been telling more and more people every day to look at Claude as an option if you're not using it. Claude.ai. Download the app, use it for co-work, for chat, for code, for design. It's really awesome. Really, really great. And they have now made the case that Claude Sonnet 5 performs close to their flagship model, but at a much lower price. And it's available on the free models and the lower end paid versions, which I think is really interesting. They're making the case, like they want to, I've said this over and over again, but every one of these AI tools wants to be your operating system. They really want to be driving you, right? They want adoption. They want you to become hooked into their tech and their technology so that that's what learns you and relates to you and connects with you and has your history and your archive and your data and all the conversations that you've had. And so Claude is making the case that, hey, we're going to really empower these people at the kind of entry-level tiers to use our tool, and they're going to get a better service because we have a higher-powered model at a lower price point. It's not the highest power. We're not chasing the frontier, but we're building something that's great at the right price point. And so if you're interested, go check out both Arena AI and Claude Sonnet 5. I think these are two cool ways to just explore the idea of the AI arms race, as we call it, like who's winning and how's it going. Super cool. The second talking point I want to get into is there was a story in Politico about the leaders, the oligarchs, as I call them, the leaders in Silicon Valley that are driving these models, having a little bit of a backtrack on what it's doing to jobs. There was this conversation that they are, pushing too hard. I mean, you've heard people say that AI is going to take half the jobs in America, the white collar jobs. And the story now is that, hold on, wait a minute, maybe we over exaggerated this a little bit. Maybe it's not going to have that big of an impact. It's still coming, but maybe it's not going to be as big as we thought it was. And so let's unpack this for just a second. And to be clear, I got my source wrong. This is Axios from end of June 30th. The title of the article is AI Evangelists Chill Out on the Worker Bloodbath Rhetoric. And so basically what they're saying is that, we think that the failing AI cost could create new demand for workers. We were probably pretty wrong about the impact on white collar work. It's ultimately creating more opportunity than it destroys. These are not the same talking points that the Sam Altmans and Mark Andreessens of the world said when AI first popped up on the scene. I mean, there was this doom and gloom scenario that all of jobs were going to be replaced by robots. And we're seeing the sentiment kind of, on the public side change. It's worsened, right? People are saying, hold on, maybe we don't want this. Talked about that last week. But we're also seeing these people that are on the tip of the spear saying, hold on, maybe our predictions were a little too big. And so they talked to a philosopher on the TED Radio Hour. And this was it's self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So when a tech executive says that in the future, we will use AI for everything and everywhere, they're actually trying to get you to act in a way that will fulfill their vision of the future. And I think we're learning that maybe that's not so much the case. It's super interesting. It really feels like in the last 30 days, public sentiment is changing. People are less excited about AI, maybe worried about it or wanting to know what's next as they get to use it more. And then the leaders that are building it are saying, hold on, it's having a dramatic impact. Nobody's arguing that, but maybe it's not going to blow up half of all jobs like we initially thought it might. And I think that's super interesting, right? I think if you could be hopeful, an optimist like me, I mean, it's kind of the sweet spot. We want to have a healthy skepticism for these types of tools and technologies, but we also want to use them. We want to level up where we can, but not become so dependent on them that we outsource our agency. So I think this is probably a good thing. It's a little bit of like a push back, right? Guardrail to guardrail in some ways, where we're finding the center lane as we're going. So I just found that story super interesting as I was reading how some of these big leaders who were all AI all the time saying that it was going to change everything are now saying it is going to have a dramatic impact. We're not neglecting that or downplaying that, but it looks like the world's adapting. It looks like people are finding ways to become more powerful at their jobs in the short term, or at least in the real time right now. My third story is from Politico, so sorry about getting the sources mixed up, but this is a magazine article that popped up called How a Winning Coalition of the Willing Wants to Change the Agenda on AI. And this is important to us here in Indiana because there is a new startup nonprofit organization that has come out. It's called Raise Us. And it has support from the biggest of big AI tech companies, Amazon, OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, etc. But why it matters is because this is a bipartisan coalition of politicos, people who know the world of politics and how to get stuff done at a political level, working together to help AI fit into the American workforce. So they're talking about, how America leads in the technological edge over China, how American workers can win in an AI economy, how we have to avoid any kind of political instability on some of this stuff, mean, the big, hard conversations that we talk about every week, that's what this organization is talking about. And here, I mentioned Indiana. Here's why it matters. 2 leaders of this organization. One is Gina Raimondo. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her last name, but Gina is the former governor of Rhode Island. She is the former Commerce Secretary for the U.S., and many would call her the patron saint of pro-business Democrats. So she is a business-forward Democrat, and her compadre, her teammate in this is a guy named Eric Holcomb. He was the Republican governor here of the great state of Indiana, who many Republicans would probably call moderate. Eric had the task of taking over after Mike Pence got pushed up to vice president. And so Holcomb led the state of Indiana. I had a great relationship with him. I think he did a lot of great things for our state. But Eric and Gina are working together, one on the Democrat side, one on the Republican side, and they're trying to have a hard, big, difficult conversation about AI and how it fits into all of this. You hear me talk every single week about what matters, who's making these decisions, how it all happens. I'm encouraged that an organization like this exists. I don't know if it's the perfect solve. I don't know enough about how it's all put together and who's pushing buttons or pulling strings, but from the Politico write-up, it feels as bipartisan as could be at this point in the process. There are potential presidential candidates on both sides of the aisle that are engaging with this organization. And I think it's cool to see that. I would love to have Governor Holcomb on here at some point. I think he has a lot to offer for the conversation of AI, especially in this role. I mean, he is working at the highest of high levels to make sure that the leadership, people making the decisions, have all the facts, figures, and understandings of how these pieces fit together. So I don't know. I find that super interesting. I think it's something we should keep our finger on the pulse of, and I just really appreciate all of you guys who forwarded this to me and said something about it, because I think it's a really cool story that connects Indiana to the national conversation. And I'm cheering for Holcomb and Governor Raimondo and hope that they can help put some constructs around how we manage some of this stuff, how we think about some of this stuff. I think that's very encouraging. So guys, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to go to our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk to John Hurley. John and I met, probably a couple of years ago. I was working for a strategic communications company called C. Garrigan Associates. And he had a startup event center in downtown Indy called Cinderwood. And it was just a stunningly beautiful space and a very cool part of the city that I hadn't experienced before. And I stepped in and helped a little bit, but my business partner, Alicia Thomas, really took the lead on that. And we hosted a kickoff party for them that was a event with Visit Indy, which was a lot of fun. Had celebrity chef, master chef Kelsey Murphy, and had a magician, like a world-class magician, John Mobley, who's been on Penn and Teller a few different times. So that was my first experience interacting with John. We were just showcasing his new building, his new space, and kind of bringing together a community event. And so got to know him there, got to know him a little bit after that. But he is a super interesting dude. And I think you guys are going to love this conversation. It's full of ups and downs. It's full of wisdom. And it's really encouraging to see what he's building now. So when I come back from the break, we'll jump right into the interview with John Hurley. AI is changing how work gets done, and organizations across Indiana are figuring out what comes next. TechPoint's Community Connect brings together employers, higher education leaders, and emerging talent to explore how AI is reshaping the workforce and creating new opportunities for innovation. Join us July 24th for conversations, working sessions, and networking focused on the future of work. Register at techpoint.org/communityconnect. AI is transforming every industry, and Indiana Wesleyan University is preparing professionals to lead that change. IWU offers a Master of Science in AI and Data Analytics, a graduate certificate in AI Business Innovation, and an Applied AI Analytics concentration, all designed for working adults. Flexible, online, Christ-centered, and grounded in biblical ethics. Discover how IWU can help you find the way forward. Visit indwes.edu. John Hurley, welcome to the Authentic and Agentic podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jayson. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is.
Folks, if you're listening in and you hear weird noises later, we are in my podcast studio, which is upstairs at Moonshot Games, and I didn't realize when we booked this, Pokemon Camp is going on this week.
That's what you said.
So literally on the other side of the studio walls, there's kids playing like carnival games.
Having a great time.
They're having
living
their
best life.
Exactly.
Right?
So
we're in here having to work, talk.
Yeah, exactly. So apologies if there's any noises as the show goes on.
Sure.
But John, thrilled to have you.
Thrilled to be here. Seriously. Thank
You and I met not long ago. A couple years ago. Yeah.
A couple years ago.
I was at a time working for a strategic communications company called C. Scarrig. And we had connected with you to help promote one of your ventures.
Yes.
So what I know about you is you have lots of ventures.
A few, and sometimes too many, and sometimes probably like you, Jayson. From what I understand, you kind of have your hands in a lot of different places.
Sure.
So you're
It's
constantly
the entrepreneur in us.
It is, and you got to control it a little bit.
Well, walk us through your journey. Help the listeners
absolutely.
who don't know how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'll keep it brief. I was really fortunate to come into my passion early in my life. So around 21, 22, got a job doing tech support at a local web design company.
How fun.
A local ISP, back when we used to dial in. And they happened to have 2 or 3 guys that would do web design for their customers on the side. And right then and there, I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I just fell in love with the internet, the opportunities. And remember, back then, this would be probably 99, 98.
So early days.
Early days, right? Yeah. Like there wasn't broadband. So nobody really understood it. We all knew it was there, much like AI, right? So, I was kind of early on in that and just met these tremendously smart, driven people, just an amazing team. And I fell in love with this web design. We started doing kind of web design on the side. This company got purchased. They allowed us to acquire all their customers, and we started a web design.
Off to the races.
Yeah, off to the races. 22 years old, built the largest web development company in the city called Web Excellence. I think we were up to 40 people at one time.
Wow.
I'm 24, 25, just flying by the seat of my pants.
I can't even imagine.
It was crazy, right? So, and stress to the max, trying to sweat payroll, trying to get people in, really just people always ask, well, where'd you go to school? I go, I went to school at Hard Knocks, man. And it was hard. It was hard. But along the way, I met some other really passionate people. One by the name of Chris Baggett.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So Chris,
local legend.
So Chris says, hey, we have this idea to send web pages in email. That was a hard concept to understand. And I mean, we're talking, this was 99 when he was pitching us this idea. And that was the best way to describe it. And he said, I heard that you and this guy named Ben are really good at doing these types of not just websites, but actually applications. I tell you what, I'll give you some equity of this company. Now, listen, man, I mean, I'm 20, 21, 22. I'm not very old. I don't even know what all that means, right? So anyway, I won't bore you with the details.
Wait, just so we're clear, this company is ExactTarget.
This company's ExactTarget.
Which is now Salesforce.
Is now Salesforce.
So a little bit of equity on the front end of that was probably a good move.
Yeah, so these are things terminology-wise, Jayson. I just was like, what? Friends and family? And,
so wild.
Yeah, it is. So we get some equity in the company. My business partner and I, and actually another guy by the name of Larry Zori, big guy, love him, great mentor. Anyway, we started building this project and obviously turned into what it did. That actually started, the development started in the back of my house with Web Excellence. So we were able to build out ExactTarget. At the same time, we started connecting with another little company at the time, very little company. This is actually before we met ExactTarget, called Angie's List. And they were like, hey, I heard you guys make websites. I'm like, yeah, what do you want? We built their first form and database for what became really a tech company, but at that time was actually just a publication. We built that first app. Now, here's the funniest part. We took equity in ExactTarget. Yeah. They were like, hey, I was talking to these guys. I heard you're giving equity. Can we give you equity? We're like, ooh.
We need actually paid at some point.
Right. So
I got payroll.
I could have had equity in 2 companies.
2 of the best IPO. Wow.
True story. So we grew that, and along the way met some amazing Scott Dorsey. Yeah. If you know him, he's just one of the best. And
salt of the earth. Guy's just genuine.
And he was a mentor with me without even knowing he was my mentor. I would just look at him and just.
I think that's true for probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
He really just does permeate out, and what they've been able to hand to the city of Indianapolis and the state of
Absolutely.
Indiana is remarkable.
And he has just so much humility and anyway, great, just amazing leader. And he said we had went to lunch one day after a meeting that we were having with Web Excellence and Exact Target, and he said, John, you got to have a product, man. You got to get out of the design business.
Yeah, trading your time for money.
Yes, and I looked at him in all sincerity, go, I know, I just don't know what it is. So anyway, so so that kind of, I did an employee buyout with that, really tried to reposition myself, took what we knew, which was hosting and design, created a product called FTP Hosting at the time. We turned that into another company called SmartFile, same company. Listen, we got profitable very quickly. I'll be honest, I was early 30s and had ego, and I'm like, well, I'm seeing everybody raise money. Why can't I? So I decided I'm going to go out and raise money, did a capital round on that for, $1.5 million. Wasn't the best decision for me.
Why?
Because I did it for the wrong reasons.
Ooh.
And now
But you don't know any better. You're young and dumb and excited for the world, right?
You don't. And I did it for the wrong reasons. So I look at Angie's, they did it, they did it because they had to do it. And Exact Target, same thing. Yeah. We didn't need to. We were profitable.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have a board of directors, right? I had a phenomenal culture. I mean, I think at that time we're maybe 20, 25 people, and people came into work and loved it.
A lot of people don't realize when you bring in money, you bring in responsibility.
A lot.
And oversight and bureaucracy and opinions and all the things that come with that money.
Well, and I will say this. It makes you a better business person.
I believe that.
It forces you to look at numbers. It forces you to think through things more strategically. So it's not all bad.
Defend your decisions still.
Absolutely. Yeah. Knowing how you have to kind of tee things up going into these board meetings. I mean, listen, overall it was a great experience.
Sure.
But for us at that time wasn't necessarily best, right? So we got that going and literally just raised some capital. We were looking for an office. My banker, of all people, said, hey, I just saw that you raised a bunch of money. You need your own office. I happen to know a guy that has this building downtown. And I mean this. I had no clue what I was walking into. And I'm thinking, I don't know, it's 20,000 square feet. I get there. It's 130,000 square foot schoolhouse that these guys from Northern Indiana had bought. And I go, oh, wow, this is way too big for us. And he goes, well, come take a look. And it was what now is the Union, but at that time was an old Lilly building that used to be the old Manual Tech.
Give the coordinates of that.
525 South Meridian.
Okay.
Beautiful architecture, right across from the Rolls-Royce building. And, in the heat of raising capital and having a board, and now we're at 40-something people.
Let's buy a 120,000 square foot building.
I went in and I go, but I knew the problem we faced, and that problem was you don't know where you're going to be in 12 months.
It's real.
And we couldn't figure out, like, do you do the best we could find was at the Stutz at the time would do 12-month leases.
Yep.
So I go, wow, if we could kind of take that model and go ahead.
When was this?
When was that? That would have been 2016, maybe?
Okay, so there's some version of like co-working spaces.
Absolutely, yep.
But it's not really.
At scale.
And WeWork's not in Indianapolis, and so there's
correct.
no like easy option downtown.
There's just not when you have that 10, 15, 20.
Which is a real problem.
It's a real problem.
Those companies that don't want to, because and a lot of people don't know this, but when you have that scale, one of two things is going to happen in a year. You're going to have 100 employees or 0 employees.
0 employees.
Right? And people just don't, I don't want to sign a 5-year lease for 12 people.
Nor did you want to give a personal guarantee.
100%.
And that was the biggest thing we sold. So I took the things that I knew were issues and I removed those. So no personal guarantees. We did short-term leases. If you want to go month to month, that's fine. And we don't do all the, CAM fees and everything. We just do a flat fee. Everything's included.
Simple, sure.
Very simple for a young entrepreneur to worry. So listen, we get this. I said, listen, I'll tell you what. I don't need this much space, but I do want to come in, but I want to be a partner. And here's my vision. Here's what I see. And I said, and they're looking at me and they're going, okay. And I said, look, I want to be a part of this because I will love it. And I did, Jason. I just loved it. I loved that whole experience. And we went within 6 months, and this is a true story. In 6 months, we went from zero. Well, no, I was going to be the first at 5,000 square feet. We went from 1 to I think 35. We were fully occupied.
Yeah.
And we weren't done building out.
Equals present.
And it was great. It was a great experience. And unfortunately, we had just got building permits for 601, which is now where another company called Centerwood that I'm involved with is right directly across the street there, or alley, I guess, on the same property. And the pandemic hits.
Oof.
And they shut us down. I mean, and the problem was, we were in tech. It was SmartFile. It was a flip of the switch, and we were working from home.
Sure.
It was not a hard. we already had. Well, we called them VoIP phones. We already had voice over IP.
Yeah, routed wherever.
Yeah, we already had remote email So it was a trying time. It was funny because I had one business that did exceptionally well during the pandemic, which was SmartFile, and I had the other business which did exceptionally terrible during that.
Which was a building.
And we had the 601 fully occupied. I was going into building that, gave all the banks, hey, like we've got leases, or not leases, sorry, whatever. Commitments, we'll call them, for I think it was like 70-80% of the building. And we went, so the good part was we were able to build it pretty easily because we had lots of resources at that time. Wood went through the roof, but
yeah, sure did.
We had a lot of wood.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, that was the other. And then we came out of the pandemic. People started coming back to work, but we had this void in 601, and that was trying to lease these 12,000 square foot spaces. And a guy working for me by the name of Jeremy Bainey, shout out to you, buddy.
Yeah.
Said, man, I'm hearing people say we should probably make this like an event center. I go, really? Who said that? And anyway, so long story short, I said, hey, why don't we do that? I'll bring you on as a partner, let you operate, because that's kind of your passion. You're really good. Him and his wife, Kristen, do an amazing job with Centerwood, and came in on that. And I think that's where we met.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen it, book a tour. Go to the website.
Tour, please. Yes,
reach
absolutely.
out to Jeremy and his wife and have them show you around, because it is unbelievable.
It's beautiful, spectacular views. And
it's right downtown.
It's right across from Lucas and the Circle, and it's just fantastic.
It's like the best kept secret in downtown Indianapolis. So you guys got to go check it out.
Yeah. So there's some successes. I will also say I had a failure along the way.
Okay.
Got really bullish on pickleball, not because I was an avid player,
Sure.
but I saw this huge movement taking place, bet heavy on a facility in Fishers.
Okay.
Had the support of the city and just the whole pickleball community, built one of the largest in the Midwest.
Yep.
And my thought was, if I could wrap technology around that playing experience, much like a Top Golf, it's like, wow, that could potentially be really cool. So built this entire stack, top to bottom. In fact, that's kind of my latest endeavor, was a lot of the principles and things that we learned there, and realized, guess what? Pickleball is a very frugal industry. You can be in the greatest place in the world, and unlike golf and unlike tennis, the people that play that aren't typically going to pay any more because they play in a certain location. But I had to learn
They're
that.
Agnostic. They'll play outdoors or whatever.
They will. And everybody's like, well, you're competing with the outdoors. I go, well, yeah, but we live in Indiana. It's windy. It's hot. No, we were just competing with a club, their apartment complex that happened to have one inside.
Well, and everybody retrofitted their tennis courts and all sorts of other things too, right?
Yeah. So we were full, but we couldn't get the price to where we needed it to be, and had the opportunity to get to sell that, and that was back in the end of the year, and I was thankful for it.
End of last year.
Okay. B2C isn't where my heart's at.
Sure.
It's its own thing. Jeremy and his wife do a great job with Centerwood.
Yep.
I'm certainly the guy on the back, kind of just looking at some numbers here and there, but by and large, I kind of give that, but learns a lot along the way. And then that took us to kind of our latest endeavors. Like, okay, we built all this technology. What do we want to do with it? We had 2 years of R&D.
Man, you just have so much learning in your history, right?
Yeah.
You were doing a service business.
Yeah.
You got connected to literally the who's who in the zoo in technology with Angie's List and Exact Target. So you got to see those
rocket ships.
Unbelievable, right?
Just an unbelievable perspective.
Then you built something yourself, SaaS product of some sort, right? And then you bought a building / multiple buildings. connected those dots, dealt as a landlord tenant, co-working, all the things there, event space, pickleball center. So you, when you just play back the tapes, like you've seen a lot of things.
Yeah.
And the entrepreneur in me is like, man, how fun, how interesting, how cool.
It's a curse.
As the gray-haired entrepreneur in me, it's like you learned a lot.
I did. And I'll tell you what, I learned a lot about myself.
Okay.
And, you talk about connecting dots, and that was the thing that I had to, listen, you've been in business a long time, as I have. It ebbs and flows. Great days, bad months, great months, right? I mean, you just learn to deal with that. But to have what I considered a failure, right? You have to do some self-reflection and go, oh, wow, that hurts. I don't like the way it makes me feel. You are automatically going to start looking at yourself like, man, what am I a failure now? Like, how did I miscalculate? It's kind of like, the only way I can liken it to is if you've ever been betrayed by a friend, it's what it feels like. Because you're going, oh, what did I miss? I thought you were my,
this whole time.
Everybody I talked to was, you're going to crush it, da-da-da-da. So I bet heavy on it.
Let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of folks here are, especially in the world of AI, where you can become a millionaire as a one-man band in the right circumstances. A lot of people have big ideas. In Indiana, historically, most people I interact with aren't risk takers. The entrepreneurial folks like you and I are. And one of the things they teach in Silicon Valley is fail fast, right? So like failure is a part of entrepreneurship.
100%.
You went through
a failure, absolutely.
Somewhat public failure too, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like it was connected to the city and all sorts of other stuff.
Absolutely.
You didn't there was no misdeeds on there or anything, right? But
right,
something you very much thought of was going to be a success.
Passionate about, got people plugged into it, invested in it, right?
And that hurts too when you get your friends and family
plugged
rough. In and it doesn't take off. So does that stop you from taking the next bet? Does that slow you down? Does that have you?
That's a great question. For me personally, it was a time of reflection. And if I really am honest, in the 20 years I've been in business for myself, I've never really taken that time. And
because you're just on to the next thing.
I'm just on to the next thing. So what I did is I said, okay, I can't control the outcome of that. That just is what it is. You fail fast, right? I liken it to this. The most precious resource that we all have is not the money in our bank, it's our time. And it's like, okay, do I want to do that for 3 or 4 more years and end up okay? And I go, no.
That's an interesting challenge. A lot of people really struggle with that.
Yes, I've seen it.
Because they're pot committed, right? Because they've
I've watched that one play out.
It's real.
Yeah, it's a very real thing.
I'm just going to pull this thing out, but if you just shot in the head today and stopped and started something new that had more upside, it sounds like that's the decision
that was the decision we made. Absolutely.
So tell me about this upside then.
Yeah, so we took this opportunity, or I took this opportunity, and I had a lot of self-reflection. And one of the things I decided to do very early on was like, okay, John, what are the things I can control? Okay, well, I can control what I do as soon as I get out of bed.
Sure.
I can control that right away, right? So I said, hey, I'm not in a very healthy place. So I'm gonna just start exercising a little bit, and that exercise went from 2 days to 3 to 5, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I can help my diet. And then all of a sudden I'm getting some wins, Jayson, and then I'm like, okay, John, what am I passionate about? And I said, okay, if I go back in my professional career and go, well, when are my happy times? It wasn't the exits. They're okay.
Sure, they're fun.
Very short-lived, though, they are. And I realized this. It was the people I got to work with. It was when we sat in the room and we whiteboarded and we came up with something, right, a concept, and the smiles and the way that made me feel. And I said, okay, all right, well, what would it take for me to, well, I know tech. I love tech. I love creating products that people use that they find value in. And I love creating these teams that I get to be kind of team captain and pick who I want on my team. I mean, how cool is that? If you've got a Miles, like, I like you, come work here and come be part of this thing. And I just started doing that. And at the same time, I had a house that I was working on to actually rent out. And it gave me time to just do really manual stuff, but give me time to mentally think of what our next move was. And thankfully, I've got amazing people around me. And we just took kind of what we had learned at Dink and came up with this tokenization thing. It's like, well, where else can we use that? AI is exploding. We had just started to dabble in it at that time. That was a year ago. And we kind of got to Walleta as kind of the outcome of all that. But back to that time of reflection, it was needed. And I wish if I could have one do-over, but you got to short-term memory, I wish I would have, when we sold, when SmartFile got acquired, and that got acquired like 3 years ago, I wish I would have taken that time to do the same thing. It's just rest, man.
Yeah.
Just rest.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that...
That's great. Well, it's great. And so, I think that journey is important for people to hear, because there's some parts of entrepreneurship that sounds so exotic and amazing. They hear about got an equity stake in Exact Target and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, oh man, I want that. But they don't know what goes in behind the scenes, right? And so I really appreciate the honesty there and just kind of unpacking that for us.
No, it's good. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs that do a lot of different things, as you probably do, right? And I can tell you, it's hard. It's hard. And you just have to know it's going to be really hard. And I don't want to say, well, it's just okay to fail. No, it's, you don't want that.
No one wants to fail. Right? No one tries to fail.
Right. But I talked about the pandemic. Who could have ever?
Sure.
I remember saying to my partners, I said, man, we own some of the best dirt in the state of Indiana. And this thing is just... We couldn't look 2 steps. We could have never come up with that. And you just have to be willing to make those adjustments. So anyway, but no, I appreciate the question. And, it's a good time. And, kind of going into this next chapter, I'm laser focused.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So I want to unpack this. So it's Walleta.
Walleta, yep.
Give me the elevator pitch first, and then we'll dig into the weeds.
Yep. So I've been in businesses, every business I've been in, one of the biggest challenges my business faces, or me as an entrepreneur faces, is what do I charge my customer? What do we charge?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the first thing we do? We go out and we see what our competitors are doing.
Sure.
Well, what are they charging? What will the market kind of tolerate, right? So we figured, okay, with today's inputs and data sources and tools that can actually help us make informative decisions, what if we put all those together to help the entrepreneur know what to charge their customer and when to charge them? So we had, like I mentioned with Dink, we had built this token system that basically kept track of tokens. We took the
so for the non-AI folk in the room.
Please, yep.
Unpack that.
Yeah, so tokens is really a new way to charge customers. So let's keep it in the SaaS world for a while.
Okay.
SaaS is we would charge a monthly price, and we would feature gate. So maybe you got free, there's a free package, there's a $30, and then you go from 1 user to 3 users. That would be a feature, right? Or you get branding, or you get API access.
Yeah.
And then if you went to kind of everything was an enterprise version. You pay some monthly fee and everything.
I think everyone's familiar with that.
Everyone's familiar with that. And then what happened was, as you well know, the AI world came along and said, hey, we don't really know what the resources is going to cost us. So why don't we do what we call a hybrid model, right? And why don't we charge a monthly fee and give them so many tokens
to use on whatever they want.
And those tokens are different. If you ask it through text, it's going to be one price. If you do it during part of the day, it's going to be another. At night, it's a little cheaper. So they came up with this monetization structure to really kind of protect them a little bit.
Almost usage based.
It's all usage based. You got it. But the usage is even different.
That's right. Because generating an image costs more than getting
compute,
a text response.
You got it. Yep. So they came up with this model. Well, the problem with that is, first of all, let's talk about the good with that. As a SaaS guy, you always had kind of these 3 categories of people. You had your users. Those are the people that paid you and used it appropriately, right? Yeah. And then you had your abusers, and these are the ones you're always watching, right? They, in SmartFile's case, we had unlimited storage, and they're putting, at that time, 15 terabytes there, and they're paying us $30 a month.
Sure.
And then
they're telling their friends that are going to abuse it to do the same thing. So now you just have a group of abusers.
So we're constantly, and it was so funny, we used to constantly monitor that segment of customers. And then the third one, we called them losers.
Okay.
But the losers is where you made all your money, right? Because they never really used it. They kind of they forgot about it,
Sure.
right? They maybe moved departments or what have you.
Blockbuster built its entire business model off of people that never rented movies, right? I mean, that was the thing.
Yeah, there's a real thing there.
Yeah.
So we love that group of people. Well, with tokenization, that changes everything, right? Because you're basically going to pay a flat fee. If you abuse it, great. You're going to be charged more, right? So the business is going to be compensated. You don't use it all. Okay, you still kind of have that category of losers, but you're at least making your bottom line. You're going to have your users that maybe never go over, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same three group. It's just, it really protects them against the abusers.
Yeah.
So it's cool, right? So if you're in the SaaS world, you're going, wow, why didn't we think of that? Like, that's fantastic. So that's where this tokenization thing had came up. And so what's happening is you have all these startups happening, especially in the Vibe world, the Vibe coding world. You know what's going on there. It's big. I mean, that's part of this podcast, right? Well, they go and they build whatever agent they want to sell, and they're going, okay, what do I charge for it, right? Yeah. Well, that's a hard thing to determine when your product is really based on your upstream providers. So what Walleta does is we are the code in between. Okay. We connect to all those upstream providers, giving you real-time data, letting you know exactly what your spend is, and then we take that all the way down to your customer using it, and give you the true cost of goods sold.
That's wild,
right? And then give you suggestions based on, hey, listen, your competition just changed their prices. Here's what that looks like, right? And we are really that layer that connects to the upstreams, to your front end. So we do all the pricing for your customer, and then we connect currently to Stripe. Okay. So we can get your payment processing, get your customer data, and put those worlds in sync. So, it was probably mid-2000s, this terminology, and you've been in the tech world long enough, we called it a single pane of glass. Well, that single pane of glass gave us information, or gave us the information for us to make informative decisions. What we have today is not just a single pane of glass. We have the tool to make those informative decisions. That would probably do it faster and better than we can. Right? Kind of puts us all in this even playing field, right? So that's what we're trying to give, that single pane of glass, but some intelligence on top of that.
Everybody's talking about AI, but very few are actually executing. If your team is still experimenting with Copilot, you're already behind. Axia Technology Partners turns Microsoft AI into real business outcomes, and fast. Not prompts, not pilots. This is production-grade AI embedded into your workflows. As a Microsoft certified AI solutions provider, Axia TP delivers Microsoft E7, the full stack of security, identity, and AI, implemented, governed, and scaled. While others are testing ideas, Axia TP's clients are reducing costs, automating operations, and moving faster than their competitors. This isn't about trying AI, it's about operationalizing it, and now. If you're serious about results, not experiments, visit Axia Technology Partners and start executing. Visit www.axiatp.com. That's AXIATP.com to learn more. So let me see if I can recapture this. You've got the OpenAIs of the world, the Claudes of the world, these tools, these technologies that have tokens. And so if I build an app, say I build something on Replit or some other tool, Lovable, whatever, and it connects to those, it's going to use tokens to do the thing, because AI, agentic, all this sort of stuff is connected. How do I charge my customers? And B, how do I make sure that I'm not just passing my cost on? Like, so that's what Walleta does, is it helps me maximize my profits, frankly. Let me give you a scenario. So obviously we come up with this idea. We've taken it a lot further. We talked to several people in the industry, and the guy that said, the problem that these young entrepreneurs are having, or just entrepreneurs in general, in this world, and it's a problem they don't even know they have. And he goes, the only reason I know I have the problem is because it happened to me. So he came out with this little product. It was a voice product. He started selling it to these groups he was in. And then one month he got an $11,000 bill from ElevenLabs. Oh, yeah. That's expensive. Well, that was more than he was making. 100%. Right? And the problem was he didn't have the right controls in place where those two things balanced out. So he goes, so if you can figure out a way to help me determine if I'm charging enough tokens. So what does that look like? So ElevenLabs, your users. So for those listening, ElevenLabs is voice AI stuff. Voice AI. In essence, you can pass it transcripts and it can read it back as an MP3 file as Burt Reynolds.
Yep.
Right. As an example.
Yeah, great example.
And so, because he is actually licensed by ElevenLabs.
Oh, okay.
His voice is. And so, but it's a way for you to create that agentic voice component, which is awesome for recorded messages, phone calls, all sorts of things. But there's tokenization and costs to do that, to transcribe your written text into Burt Reynolds' voice.
Yep.
That's where ElevenLabs charges you money.
Absolutely.
So if your tool is enabling and connecting that, and you're not monitoring the run on what you're paying ElevenLabs, then you can bleed out.
You can't. And so he said, listen, it cost me $11,000.
Could you imagine?
No, I can't. And it's hooked to his Amex, so it just charged him $11,000.
Yeah, well, get them points, buddy.
You got a free flight out of that one.
There you go.
So so that's where he goes, if you can figure out a way, and he goes, I know there's a way to connect. So we came with a very creative way to not only connect to just the AI companies, and they do that. They do have really robust API.
Yeah.
We pull it from there. So those are all, really heavily integrated APIs. However, we also built this other tool that allows you to forward any email. So, for instance, you use MailChimp to send email out, right? And it just is it's form mailer, a simple form mailer. Well, there's a cost associated with that.
$79 a month, or it scales up based on your
usage.
Number of users, right?
Twilio is another one, right? So now we can take all of those and give you your true cost of goods.
So it's not just software that is token driven. It's also like more of the fixed costs
your
model.
Fixed cost.
And some of those, like you mentioned, your SaaS, some of these companies are still very SaaS focused, right?
Absolutely.
Where they're gated and they have different tiers. And so like with MailChimp or tools like that, you pay as your subscriber base grows.
As your subscriber base. And we take those costs and just split it accordingly. And it's based on the usage. So if one user uses your system more, we're going to give MailChimp's costs a little heavier his way, right?
Makes sense.
We also connect with AWS. Now that's more of a rear view look, right? So we can kind of project based on usage and say, hey, we think your costs are going to be this upcoming month. And then we take those and we kind of drill it down to the actual user. So we're trying to say, hey, let's take all your digital costs associated with this particular product. Let's just give you a single pane of glass, right? And then let's be the front end, whether you're using Stripe as your front end, you've built your own tools for the front end, and have some data points that we can connect to see your pricing. And now, and the part that we're probably the most excited about is this. Now that we've got that, we can A/B split your pricing and see, hey, when you talk about feature gating, hey, do you get more conversion if you maybe you get rid of your freemium and you do a 2-week free trial? Well, we can serve that up independently with every user that comes up.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, so now we can really, that was one of the hardest things in the SaaS world was A, to figure out your pricing, but B is when you did a price change.
Yeah.
Scary stuff.
For sure. I own a catering company, and I remember 10 years ago, whatever it was, when we raised our prices for the first time.
Scary, wasn't it?
Jeremy and I were like, I think we're going to lose all of our customers. This is really scary, right? Because we were competing with Subway and Pizza Hut at like the cheapest level.
Yeah.
And we went up like $2 a head or something like that. And the only thing that happened was the bad customers went away.
That's true. It is so true.
Like,
I've heard that before. Yeah. It's so true. So but you know what that was like. Yeah. So what do? You go out and you look at your competition. You go, okay, I think, I feel our value is there, and what features do they have? But what if this going back to that particular scenario, 10 years ago when you did that, you could test it with just 2.
That'd have been great.
Right? That's what we're trying to do. What if we can test it, build some buyer persona and go, hey, look, based on who's buying and when they're buying, this is what they would actually get. That's what we're trying. That's what we're really trying to solve is how can I make that a more informed decision before I flip the switch and go, here's our new pricing.
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. And
please,
the other thing I love, a couple thoughts. One, if you've ever dealt with AWS in general, being able to slice and dice that data is gold in and of itself, because that's a dumpster fire.
And they know it, by the way.
I know. Okay. The other piece, though, is like understanding what people see value in, right? Yeah. Because some
Good
things,
point,
it probably helps drive where our profit centers are, right? Like ElevenLabs, for example. A lot of times when you're a software person, especially when you're working with engineers, They love the challenge of building cool stuff. Or if you're designing a product, you're thinking about like, what would I want? Or maybe even do focus groups or whatever your process is. But a lot of times you're building something without knowing if people want it or not, right?
Like 90% of the time.
and that's the entrepreneurial fun, right? But a lot of times, I mean, I've built stuff that people are like, this sucks. I'm like, ugh, why did I spend all that time and money doing that?
Yes.
So I love the idea, A, of A/B testing, but also just really honing in on what customers are using and paying for and understanding the cost centers that agree. I mean, think about it this way, guys, like a buffet, right? So I'm Golden Corral or Thurloin Stockade or whatever these places are nowadays. You've got 87 menu items all sitting out there.
Right.
You've got one flat fee to get in, right? Minus the kids and senior discounts or whatever, but there's abusers that are going to eat nothing but the steak, and they're going to eat 80 pounds of steak or crab legs or whatever you have, right? And then you've got my wife who loses me money every time we go to any kind of buffet style environment. She eats nothing.
Right.
We go to Fogo and she gets like a salad. I'm like, that was a $70 salad. But I mean, think about that. And really what you're doing here is bringing that to stuff you can track down to the T.
Yeah, and that's a great analogy actually. And they have done the numbers and they know it has to be 70, right? Because you're going to get a guy in there that's the abuser, right? And then your wife in that scenario will be the loser, right? And you're just hoping you have enough losers to offset the abusers. What tokenization is it's gotten rid of that, right? The abusers kind of go away. But you got to know where to feature gate, and you got to know where to do it. Well, here's a challenge we had. In fact, it was such a big challenge at SmartFile, we just got rid of it. We didn't know what our freemium cost the business. It sounds crazy, but we could make some pretty good guesses, but maybe we're 80%
I believe
right.
That. Sure.
It's just so hard. So we really want to open that window up to say, hey, this is what it costs. Because I can say it's this segment of customers that utilize this much upstream spend, right? And I know what that costs my business. So that's the challenge we're trying to. We think it's we think it's a good product market fit. The total addressable market is in the billions.
Who are the customers?
Right now we are going from the bottom up. So we are going to start with that vibe coding community, those early startups that are just now going, wait a second.
I've got a thing. How do I charge for it?
How do I charge for it? So we've did a heavy integration with make.com.
Great.
That's our starting point. We certainly have a very robust API. We've got webhooks, right? So if you're a little bit more mature, we'd love to, kind of help integrate. And we are at the MVP. We just went live with our MVP last week.
Wow, congrats.
So excited. So we have 3 people that are ready to, utilize it. We're on the process of onboarding. And, we are going to learn the problems that we need to, but we are always looking for these early stage companies. We'd love to do it in our backyard and keep that local as we can, but get people onboarded to start utilizing.
Let's dig into the entrepreneurship side of this a little bit.
Yep.
Why start at the bottom?
Because I believe that the need is the greatest there. Okay. I do. There are token companies out there. They don't have the back end piece for the upstream provider, so they can't give you really the cost. There are some products that do just cost. There's not any that really do both, and I believe that need is much greater at the bottom. And I believe that market is going to explode.
Oh, 100%.
It already is.
I talk to someone every week who, hey, I built this thing. How do I sell it?
How do I sell it?
How do I take this to the next level? Because I solved a problem for my business, and every other insurance agent has the same problem. Right? Every other baker has this same problem. Every other mechanic has this same problem.
And that's the market we really want to go after. And we are doing a kind of a product first approach. We've went heavy on the product, made it as easy to onboard as we possibly can. You search, you find us, we solve your problem, you plug and play, and if you already set prices, great. If you haven't, we can help you make some informed decisions. We can connect to your upstream providers very easily. So we believe that it's just a very frictionless onboarding process. So we really want to go after that. And I believe, and I would, as you know, you're in this world, but for your listeners, I would say this, especially for people that have heard about AI and go, hey, they know it's going to change the world. I started a web design company in 99.
Yeah.
Okay. We were early on.
Yeah.
I remember approaching my mother-in-law and saying, she owned a pizza place, going, you need to have a website. Let me help you. And she's like, well, why?
Yeah.
And we laugh at that now, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to have one. Well, it took about 10 years for those small mom and pops, maybe even 15 years, 2010, 2015, they go, oh yeah, I've got to have one. AI is going to move faster than that.
100% agree.
Because the thing that we have now that we didn't have then is the internet and phones. It's just moving at a breakneck speed. And, I believe it's the businesses at the beginning of that are just going to explode.
Yeah. It's a cheat code, right? And it's like I tell folks, it's an Iron Man suit. You put it on, you're a superhero. And so
yes.
And I also say all the time, like when it comes to AI, you're either on the train or you're getting hit by the train.
You're getting there's no question.
Like I'll catch the next one, right?
I'm not afraid of it. I think I wasn't afraid of the internet. I wasn't afraid of having websites and apps. It just was. I'm not afraid of this. I believe that but you've got to understand it and know how it's going to be part of our lives. And the best way I can describe it, it puts us all on an even playing field.
Sure does.
Yeah,
I mean that's the thing that a lot of folks don't understand is that I can start up a company today with some digital marketing expertise and an AI capable small team, even just myself, and I could go build something that probably competes with a lot of businesses out there if I just dedicated my time to it, right? Because
agreed.
I have 10 people working for me day one.
Yeah.
For free or for tokens, right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's a thing people just don't really fully grasp yet.
Yep.
And as I think through that, like the world's changing in a big way. I think people don't know what that means yet. This product sounds super interesting because I think that a lot of people are going to need to understand their cost structure and their service offerings.
All businesses do, yeah. So we're going to hopefully give them kind of the tools. I mean, listen, it wasn't until later on in my business career that I really started to look at numbers and understand numbers. I was front man. I was sales more. Hey, if I just sell enough, who cares?
Well, I'm going to stop you for just a second because that's a really important lesson and one that I probably am still working on, but it's a constant journey for me. It's really easy to get excited about gross sales and top line numbers.
It is, I know.
But at the end of the day, you don't pay your mortgage with the top line sales. You pay your mortgage by what comes out the bottom of the business. And people don't always realize that. I mean, I've been a part of companies that do $5 or $10 million in revenue and show a loss. Yeah. And not because we're trying to be strategic with our taxes. It's because we just ran a crappy company.
Right. Yeah, no, it's one of the hardest things for any entrepreneur. And I even deal with it today with you talking to younger. I was like, what are your numbers? Know your numbers. And what I learned and I thought was interesting for even the way my brain was, I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I go, oh, okay. Now
it's a game at some point. Once you get into it, you're like, okay, I can tweak this and make this better. And
it is. And it's also allows you to speak a language, right? And when you're talking to your employees, you're talking to your accountants or your I said, one of the good things about raising money, it makes you a better entrepreneur. Yeah. To talk to your board, right? And be able to say, hey, here's what we're trying to do and really understanding what those lines mean. So for us to create those templates to make that easier, and we call them KPIs, but to give you really informative data. Here's one for us that was probably the biggest is what people don't realize if people prepay for tokens and they only use half of those, okay, that's the other half's a liability to the business.
Yeah.
And you have to show that as a liability. Meaning, if somebody came in and redeemed all those tokens at the same time, it could impact the business.
Run on the bank.
You got it. It'll be a run on the bank. So it's giving you those KPIs to let the business owner know, hey, here's what's happening, and to make those informed decisions. So
we short tangent there, but I own a game store and we buy Pokemon collections and Magic the Gathering collections and these sorts of things from folks. Awesome. And it's nerdy. It's
like
I
love
the
coolest
thing, right?
I love it.
But we offer cash or store credit, and we give you a bump for store credit. It's a very common practice.
Sure. Yep.
There's 5,000 of these stores across the country. And most of them don't realize what their outstanding store credit balances are and don't realize that is a liability on your business. If someone cashes in all their store credit at once,
it could hurt.
It could, especially like when that hot item comes out that everybody wants, that's it's wild.
Yeah.
It's just wild to think about.
It is. And if, hopefully you're tracking that.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And what we learned, at least at Dink, is we gained some confidence going, hey, redemption's going to look like this, so we can make some key assumptions.
12% of gift cards never get redeemed.
Yeah, and ours was really higher, because the more of those, what we called dink dollars at the time. So that was nobody was doing anything like that. It was like it was buying these dollars in advance, and the more you bought, right? So it gave us cash flow, right? The cheaper your play became. But as we started looking, they're going, oh man, I think at one point $180,000 of these dollars that were a liability business. But what we also learned is that, gosh, I mean, it was actually, it never went down. It always went up. So anyway.
Well, let's talk about this new, the learnings from this new product to Dink. And here's where I want to go with this is the tokenization concept, the usage concept, the idea of paying for use instead of paying a monthly fee.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there are some synergies there between physical space.
Oh, absolutely.
And digital tokens. Mm-hmm. You worked on this at Dink. That was the kind of the premise that drove this. Found that wasn't great business. Is that because of pickleball? Is that because
the tokenization? Where we knew we had something is we had outside clubs reaching out to us asking how can we get that concept into our club, because the best thing they had was it was after the fact. They could only, if they were going to do some sort of usage based, they could only bill at the end of the month.
Sure.
Well, that became a liability too, because credit cards failed. People left down, whatever. So they had a girl. This particular gentleman had 3 clubs, the biggest clubs in St. Louis. We'll say it was in St. Louis. I won't mention the clubs, but and he had a dedicated person to go do that one job.
Yeah.
He goes, well, if we could flip that, he goes, now we can get people. We can monetize the other way. So yeah, go ahead.
So does this play out to? I mean, you experienced as an office space owner.
Yep.
We have the Salesforce Tower, which bringing this whole thing full circle, right? Downtown Indianapolis. The whole conversation around work from home and hybrid and all this is a big conversation. I mean, are offices ever going to be what they were before? Are we going to see more rent by, awful analogy, but rent by the hour, right? Rent by the day, rent by the whatevers. Are there? Does all this kind of mesh together in some place in the future in a physical world, or is it still so far fetched that it's like, I don't see this. Well,
here's where I'm at with office space. We are getting back to going to the office.
I believe that, and I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah.
We need people.
It's part of our nature.
We need humans.
And, when you start a business, I'd say it's kind of wartime, right? And I never had an office. As big as we grew, didn't have an office. I just felt like that I'd use a boardroom if I needed it. And the reason wasn't to, check me out, I don't have an office. It was so that I could be accessible and connected and hear conversations and have what I call collisions and hear a tech support call and go, wow, what's going on, and be concerned. Like, we need that, especially in the early days. I cannot stress that enough. You have to have it. The other thing it does, when I talked about, whiteboarding in the creativity, it creates a culture. It's so hard to create a culture remotely. If you come into a remote work environment, that culture is somewhat established, whatever that may be. And I think that is the lifeblood of any organization, is the people that you work around. And so I believe, I think what will probably happen, and I was starting to see it happen, I was in that business for a while, was Fridays were kind of iffy. People left around 12. I see workdays getting a little longer during the week, and that, hey, we'll go ahead and work from home on Friday, give people that flexibility. But I believe this total remote work thing is completely going away. It has to. I even have a membership to launch. I mean, here but I just need to be around people.
Yeah.
So
I guess I wonder if there's a model there where you originally started Union and trying to be friendly to the SaaS companies and the companies that couldn't sign these big leases and stuff. If there's some hybrid conversion there between the I rent a desk versus tokenization. So every time I get a cup of coffee, it depletes. And every time I do this, it depletes. And
well, maybe we can start another business.
No, I don't know. I've told my wife I'm not allowed. I'm cut off. Currently cut off.
Oh, that's great.
But I mean, just think about like Fogo.
That's a great idea.
If you go into Fogo and you pay $50 to get in, or
got
30
like
or whatever,
pricing,
right?
Right.
And then you get they weigh your ribeye as they cut it off, and it credits some off, and then this cuts. I mean, you could really it's weird, and it's probably too far fetched to think about, but it's fascinating.
I think what's happening, we're seeing it. And Uber kind of programmed us, right? I just mentioned surge pricing, and then you hear, I think it was Wendy's was doing it for a little while. I was like, hey, why don't we make our pricing cheaper? I mean, they've kind of always done it. Hey, happy hours and things like that, right? But I think as we get away from cash and we're more, digital currency, we as humans are probably going to be more open to that because, see, there is value in it. There's still value. And as long as the consumer, derives some value out of it, right, and the business is still able to do that. So why is that a wrong thing?
Why is it more expensive to see the Lakers and LeBron than it is to see the Toronto Raptors play the Pacers, right?
You got it.
They know. And that's where I think that, and in fact, the Colts did that probably 8 years ago. They used to be flat pricing. You pay a fee, you get and they go, whoa, wait a second. Well, we're selling these prices, and if it's a Dallas game, it's sold out. For sure.
So why are we, and they could only sell it for face. So now, if you look at your tickets, the pricing actually changes for every game, depending on who it is.
Smart.
Is it a divisional game, or is it, the Dallas Cowboys or Green Bay? Mm-hmm. So again, it's happening.
Sure.
I mean, we know this, and here's another great analogy. And I know you've traveled, and it's and I know, if you're going to take your family on a holiday to, we'll say, in Florida for Christmas week, you're going to pay a lot more.
Sure.
Your flights are more, your hotel is more, right? We're conditioned to know that. So that in some ways is dynamic pricing.
It's literally one of the greatest things about homeschooling our children is that we don't have the typical spring break, fall break schedules.
You get to cheat.
So we get to go to, we took them to Europe. We're going to Amsterdam in a couple weeks.
Good for you, man.
We just get to travel for half price because we don't have to do it the same week everybody else does it.
You talk about your kids. What a blessing.
It's
for them.
pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great.
Well, I love it. I love the journey because you've learned a ton along the way. I love this product, frankly. As someone who's vibe coding, I have 2 apps running right now over on that computer, literally, that are building as we're talking, right? And so I do this all day long.
I love it.
I currently just do it for myself.
Sure.
And I'm just building stuff to make my businesses run better.
Sure.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
What a supercharge. But I could absolutely see a use case where understanding our cost, even at that level, even for my own companies, even if I'm not trying to sell it.
But maybe you decide to monetize.
Sure.
So this would be that next piece to do that. And we want to make that as easy as we possibly can.
So how do people find out about you?
So a couple ways. If you go to Walleta.io.
Spell that.
Walleta, Walleta.io.
Walleta.
Yeah, Walleta.io. We actually have a form that you can fill out to join the wait list. We need people that are passionate about technology, that are early adopters, to just start utilizing our product.
Love it.
So there's a form you fill out. You'll be notified. It's a wait list product that we're utilizing. That's a great place to start. My name's John Hurley. You can find me on LinkedIn, John H. Hurley. Would love to talk to you. So,
love it. Absolutely love it. Last question for you.
Yep.
I ask everyone this. We're looking at the world of AI. You have historical perspective on the internet and how the world's changed and where things are going. You and I are aligned that it's moving faster than the world's ever moved.
Ever.
Right?
Ever.
But I feel it in you, and I feel the same way. I'm an optimist still. I see the positives ahead. What's the one thing that you're worried about, right? So I like to ask folks as a final question, it's like, what keeps you up at night when it comes to not necessarily your startup, but the world of AI, right? Is it that, governance can't catch up? Is it that there's, a space race between countries and global dominance? Like, what is it?
I would say, that would be the closest thing. I'm just not as worried as I was.
Okay. Now
that I've played in the world a little bit more and I understand it, I would have likened it to this. 50 years ago, if you went to your accountant, right, and said, hey, can you do my books for me? They literally had books.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why would your accountant use that when they have this other tool called a computer and spreadsheets? You just wouldn't. AI is the same thing. It's going to change the way we do business, but it's not going to take away business. It's just not. You still need game stores, and you still need event centers, and you still need development companies, right? All these things are still, they can coexist. So from worrying on a personal level, is AI going to take over the world? No, it's not. Is it going to make the world easy? It puts us on an even playing field, right? I don't have to call my lawyer to just get some general information. Just don't.
Yeah, you can get it now.
But do we need lawyers?
Yeah.
Absolutely need lawyers,
Yeah.
right? So
Can't take that bot to court.
no,
They were wrong.
Right? No, you're just going to. So in terms of the only thing I think you mentioned it. I would say that, and I'm glad you would be okay. Where does the U.S. stand in terms of that? And I'm kind of the thinking, hey, let's get out of the way and let us be a dominant force, just because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Right? We lean into innovation. We lean into entrepreneurs. We embrace new technology. We're not afraid to take chances. That is what I grew up knowing about this great country that we live in, right?
Sure.
So it's like, let's just get it and let that be what it is. But outside of that, no, I don't have these great concerns around AI. Call me naive.
I don't think you're naive. My board game store that we sell cardboard to sit around a table and roll dice and things is having record years, right? Like
awesome.
people are so excited to be human again.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yes, maybe we work on AI or inboxes or emails or whatever else, but my hope is that it frees up our time so we get to do more vacations and do more leisure activities and spend more time thinking and right. And we'll see where the world goes, but
it's going to go. And to your point, it's like the train is a moving. Okay,
get on it or get hit by it.
And I think there are a lot of great firms that are helping, especially the smaller markets, kind of adopt these changes with some of these agents and what have you. I believe you have one of those. It's like doing education classes, getting people up to speed on it. I'm just fortunate that the tides have turned for us. I got deep into it, and I'm just really bullish on it, man. Really excited about it.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you again.
Walleta, it's walleta.io.
Walleta.io.
And then you also have
Cinderwoodindy.com.
Cinderwoodindy. Indy.com.
Yep.
So perfect. Check that out too.
All right.
Thanks, John Hurley. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you again to my friend John Hurley for this awesome conversation. It's always fun sitting down talking to entrepreneurs to hear their journey. I think a lot of times we see the glitz and glamour. We hear about the victories and the wins, and we don't always hear about the lessons learned along the way, right? What got us to where we are today. And so I think John just really pulled that together for me in a way that I'm going to remember. It's fun to chase the big hits. It's also fun to get a chance to strike out in the biggest stadiums. And I think it's really cool to see how his vision moves from, service-based tech to SaaS to physical locations to a huge event venue to, a product specifically built around AI. I mean, what a cool journey that a lot of us get to live vicariously through the retelling of. And so, John, thank you again for your time. Folks, if you are building anything in AI and interested in tokenization and billing and those sorts of things, go check out Walleta. Sounds awesome. Like, what a cool feature. I was actually having lunch with someone today, and I was like, this might be a good fit for your business. And so I think there's a huge opportunity there. And if you're ever thinking about booking an event venue, go check out Cinderwood. It's in downtown Indy. It is stunning, just beautiful views. I've hosted events there. It is a cool spot. And so highly recommend. Thanks to John. Thanks to all of you for listening. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends. We are halfway through the year and creating cool content for you. It means a lot to us that you are all actively participating. I hear from all of you, or a lot of you, I guess, on a regular basis. And I'm just grateful for this chance to talk about AI and to get more conversations going around how the world around us is changing. So we will see you guys next week.